the offense struggled for Green Bay. There's no doubt, and I think most of those struggles fall on Jordan Love, just not being accurate today. This was far from a domination, though. I mean, this
Right.
game was a defensive slugfest. The turnover that the Eagles got on the first play of the game, which was questionable because Keyshawn Nixon looked like he recovered it, it led to the Eagles' only touchdown in the first half. And the Packers also missed a field goal in this game. This game felt a lot closer. It was a back and forth defensive battle. And the reason why the Packers can hang with these teams is because that defense has been elite this year. And without Jair Alexander, that secondary really played well. I know Carrington Valentine got stuffed by Dallas Goedert. Dallas Goedert just has a major strength and weight advantage over him. It's a tight end against a corner. But Carrington Valentine played really well. The young corners played really well. The lack of a pass rush is a serious issue. But after that first drive where we kind of felt like the game could have gotten ugly, because I know after the Eagles scored so quickly, it felt like, oh, the Eagles can really win by like 30 points here. The Packers defense really stepped up in a big time way, and they gave the offense chances to win that game. It's just, this has been the storyline of the Packers all season in these type of games. It's self-inflicted mistakes. Jordan Love is one of the league leaders in drop percentage. Christian Watson wasn't in this game, and the offense with him and without him, the splits from an explosive play percentage are huge. Jaden Reed gets hurt. Romeo Dobbs gets hurt, and it was just unfortunate because he was wearing a Guardian cap too and still suffered a head injury going to the ground. Elton Jenkins, their best interior offensive lineman, got hurt as well. Josh Myers got hurt later in the game. The Eagles defensive line already had a major advantage, and we know how elite the Eagles defense is. But there were just too many moments that the Packers just didn't convert. The field goal miss from chip shot range, Jordan Love in the red zone just overshooting Malik Heath just a little bit. Malik Heath also slipped on his release, so Jordan Love probably thought he was going to be further deeper into the pylon, and he wasn't there. So there was just these mistakes, and the Packers, to me, after like week 6, never really felt like they were a team that were going to click and put it all together, because the offensive consistencies, they just weren't there. They just weren't the same offense they were last year. Their defense stepped up in a major way, and I think the bright spot is that Jeff Hafley is legitimately like a great defensive coordinator. But this season is what it is.
Right.
Jordan Love did not play well this season, but Jordan Love is going to be fine. And Jordan Love is going to be back next season. And we see that the Packers have a load of good receivers, and all the debates that we got into in the offseason, like who's going to break out? Is it going to be Watson, Wicks, Reed? It was none of them. So the Packers need to go out and they need to find somebody that can dictate how defenses have to play you from a coverage perspective. Because not only did it come to this game all hobbled, but even when they're healthy, they're just not one guy that you can trust. And, Jordan Love has to be better. But, the Eagles dominated. I mean, I picked them to win this game. This wasn't a surprising result to me. I was expecting to come here and talk to you in this manner. But, yeah, not a good game from the Packers. And shout out to the Eagles. They'll likely be facing the Vikings next, or the Rams, either of them.
Go ahead, Joel.
Here we go. Sorry, froze for a second there. This was about what I expected from this game. Honestly, I did think it was going to be more defensive minded. I did think the Eagles were going to win this game. Talk about the Packers first, because the Jordan Love conversation, Joel, you're a Jordan Love guy, right? I think it's more than fair to you to be like, oh yeah, Jordan Love's going to be fine, this and that. He definitely has some flaws. He definitely has some flaws. He is a gunslinger. He is going to throw a lot of interceptions. I feel like he isn't always the most fundamentally sound when it comes to just him in the pocket. But he still gives you those high upside plays, which is why if you want to say he's going to be fine, that's okay, because he has athleticism and a big arm, and I do see franchise quarterback written all around him. With that being said, he played like dog shit today. This was one of the worst Jordan Love games I have seen in his career, maybe the worst Jordan Love game I've seen in his career. I'll cut him the slack. Ton of injuries. The wide receivers were all banged up. 100% get that. He, separately from that, did not play well, right? This is a really tough environment to go into and play if your players or if your teammates are healthy. The fact that he had to deal with the injuries did not help. But let's get one thing clear. He did not help his case either, right? There were times that he could have made better throws, better decisions, and he didn't do it. From the Eagles side of things, you win the game, you move on, get the W, case closed, whatever. We won't harp on it too much. The passing attack worries me. the passing attack is still a little bit suspicious, I think. This is Jalen Hurts' first game playing in nearly a month, so I want to give him some slack there. But this was a passing attack that, outside of those last couple weeks pre-injury, we heard the A.J. Brown noise. We heard the inconsistencies coming from the locker room, just the passing attack not really being on the same page, or at least what we hadn't seen when the Eagles were at their peak of their powers and made the Super Bowl in 2022. So I still have some questions about that passing attack. The thing that the Eagles give you, though, with Saquon Barkley and that defense is you have the highest floor in the NFL. Having Saquon Barkley, who it feels like anytime he gets the ball on 1st and 10 can get you 7 to 8 yards, and now you're dealing with 2nd and 2s for majority of the game, it makes playing offense really, really easy. And then the defense, I do think, is the best in football. So having those two aspects on your team make this team incredibly safe week to week. It's just that last maybe like 5 to 10% you need to win a Super Bowl, to beat Detroit and then go into the AFC and beat KC, Baltimore, or the Buffalo Bills, whoever it might be. That's just that one remaining piece that I need to see, because I feel like we still haven't seen like a month stretch, which we won't now, but even in the regular season where everything was clicking, offense, defense, run game, all in a line. I feel like for the most part, the defense and run game has been there. The passing attacks had its moments. It's had 2 or 3 weeks against specific opponents. It's looked really good, but I still have my questions about, can they consistently have a successful passing game? And the thing is, they really might not need it, because his defense is so damn good that they're going to be in some low-scoring games. They can lean on Saquon, and then a couple of big shots down the field to A.J. Brown or Smitty or Dallas Goedert, like we saw today, could be the nail in the coffin in some of these games. That's my only question for Philly. Can they get this passing attack on track? If they can, then we're looking at a team that can win a Super Bowl for real.
In the first half, the Packers really were shutting down almost everything. Really nothing that they could really do, talking about the Eagles offense, could be consistent. And that includes Saquon Barkley, who has been the Achilles heel of this team. Now, that goes for when we look at the second half. I thought that the Eagles did a pretty great job of stringing some drives together outside of the first drive they had that resulted in 3 and out. They were able to score on the rest of their drives for the rest of the game, outside of the ones that they ended up just kneeling out for the clock to end the game. But in this first half, the run and the passing attack really wasn't there. And again, Jalen Hurts didn't have to do much overall in this game. In the first half, they ideally would have liked that. But in the second half, they started to click, both the run and the pass, I would argue. Some big plays being made. Dallas Goedert did a lot of the work on that touchdown play. That was obviously a huge bonus for them. But in a game like this, where your defense has dominated or did dominate in the fashion that they did, it like you mentioned, Joel, it may not be all too essential in games like this one where your passing attack needs to be overwhelming. Now, I'm not going to wash it away and say, hey, you guys don't need to be better. You do, but at the same time, I look at this first half and nothing got going. In the second half, they figured it out, mostly on the ground, where Saquon still was able to be effective. But again, in the passing, they had successful plays that led to points, whether it was a touchdown or field goals. So in this one, you give credit to the defense. I'm still not worried about Philadelphia's offense as a whole. I know you're singling out the pass. I'm not worried about that. But in this one, shout out to the defense. On the opposite side, talking about the Packers, Jordan Love, unfortunately, in his last 2 games that he's played in the playoffs, 2 touchdowns, 5 INTs, a completion percentage of 6%. Not great. This one, I'll give him the benefit of doubt a little bit, especially in the second half, as his guys did go down one by one. Of course, send our prayers to Romeo Dobbs, second concussion that he's working through this year. The first one held him out for a good amount of time. This one was even scarier. You mentioned it, Joel, was wearing the Guardian cap, trying to take precaution in this one. Didn't matter. Hope that he's doing all right. And then Jaden Reed, who started to get things going a little bit, he goes and has that play over the middle that he goes and he hurts his shoulder. That was a bummer. Then the wheels really just started falling off after that. Credit to Josh Jacobs. Was the offense all season long? Was the offense in this game? You need more than just Josh Jacobs. You need some game changers. Hopefully they realize that coming into next season. But Jordan Love has to be better. The accuracy has to be cleaned up. And I think that if you get better skill position players, naturally we'll see him also be better. But his decision-making, his accuracy, I think we need to see that improve next year, especially when you are a $220 million man. But this is a tough one. This was going to be a difficult game for the Packers to win regardless. But credit for the Eagles for coming out there in a game versus a solid opponent and handling business.
I think the unfortunate part about the Packers' offensive drives is that whenever they started to get going, something happened, whether it's a penalty or an injury. Like Jordan Love had that nice play to Jaden Reed, and then he hurts his shoulder right on that same play, and it's like, oh, he made a big play for you, and now he's not there the following possession. I think that Love will improve just with better skill position players because he's somebody that takes risks, and he needs players that are able to come down with 50-50 balls, and I just don't think that the Packers offense has that right now.
I think that he tried it, and today he just wasn't on the money. Yes, the UCL injury, maybe that affected some of his throws. That's fair. The deep ball to Ontavian Wicks, shout out to Big Play Slay. He was with him every single step of the way. That interception over the middle to Bond was pretty horrendous, honestly.
That play to Dobbs was awful. The one that got him hurt.
The turnovers were on Jordan today. It wasn't about the skill position players, in my opinion. It was all about bad decision making.
I'm talking about this season, though. Jordan Love to me was underwhelming this season. He was supposed to take a step forward, and I think a lot of the numbers don't look favorable to Jordan Love because of the skill position players really not being there and not really having the true player that you can rely on a down-to-down basis. But this game, no, he was awful. I don't give him any leeway. He was hurt, but he played terrible. In the Niners game, he had the game-sealing interception that was bad, but he didn't play bad in that game. Up until that moment, he did not play bad in that game. But this game, he played terrible from start to finish. I disagree with you, though. Like, I think the Eagles' offense, it's pretty alarming that they weren't able to run away with this game. Like, this game was much closer than it should have been. In the first half, Jalen Hurts had 33 passing yards.